Previously on 5 Points of Articulation. And yes, I finally got the Marvel Select Classic cap, kind of, but that's a discussion for its own video.
Today's the day!
Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation and Story Time. In 2024, Diamond released the Marvel Select Classic Captain America, and I missed out. Luckily, I was able to find this one on eBay, the catch being that this figure was loose and did not come with a single one of his accessories. No extra hands, no shields, no heads, zilch. Given that the figure is incomplete, I feel like I can't really give it a proper full review. Instead, this is going to mostly be a showcase of side-by-side comparisons to show you where this Captain America can fit in. That said, if you'd like to see me do a video talking about things I can discuss, things like presentation or poseability, definitely sound off in the comments. Just remember, I don't have the accessories. Of course, playability is more than accessories, it's also about how well your figure plays with others, bringing us to the main event, comparison time. Starting with a couple of Marvel Legends Captains America, and here we have Cap Wolf and the 20th anniversary versions. For those asking, I do have the Gamerverse version. I also have the Secret Wars version, but that's going to be a couple of other videos. For the other Marvel Select Caps in my collection, however, and once again, here's the Disney Store exclusive, and the Avenging Captain America, which I managed to snag in an antique store while I was out of town a few weeks ago. Next, and let's take a look at some other Marvel Select versions of the Avengers. Before we do that though, if you're enjoying this video so far, do me a favor and give it a like. For the only modern or modern-ish Iron Man that I have, and here we have the Bleeding Edge armor, I've always thought the proportions on this one were a little bit janky. Otherwise, my go-to Marvel Select Iron Man is the Silver Centurion. I may yet want to do a video on this, so sound off if that's something you'd like to see. As good as this is, it breaks my heart that Marvel Select ended before they could do the classic red and gold, or of course, stealth. Here we have the Mighty Thor. With the rest of my Avengers being so classically skewed, I really should try to track one of those down. That said, and for the standout Marvel Select Avenger, and here we have the Hulk. This thing is a masterpiece, but for the curious and those who are happy with a slightly smaller Hulk, here we have the Marvel Legends version. To be honest, as much as I like the Marvel Select, if you had to get away with this, I think you could. Rounding out that core team, however, and here we have Hawkeye and the Disney Store bandy-legged Black Widow. Just for fun though, and let's cap this part off with the Jessica Drew and Julie Carpenter versions of Spider-Woman. For a couple of Avengers level threats, however, and here we have Ultron and the Mad Titan Thanos. I do love this big chunky guy, but if the only Thanos you have access to is Marvel Legends, here's how that looks. Alas and alack, it is definitely too small. With that, we depart the House of Ideas and head towards the distinguished competition and DC Multiverse. What better way to start than with the Page Puncher's Steve Trevor. For those hoping to use this Steve as an out-of-costume version of the other Steve, well, here's how that would look. Obviously, he's a little bit small, but again, you wouldn't exactly be posing them together, so if you wanted to get away with it, you probably could. Otherwise, and for DC Comics Big Blue Boy Scout, and here's Atomic Skull 2-pack and Walmart versions of Action Comics 1000 Superman. I do think this version of Superman is a tad small for this Steve. Same thing with Hush, though I do like how the blues go together. DC Classic is also a bit on the short side, but for that overall sweet spot, you can't go wrong with Silver Age. The height and proportions, these two go great together. From the Man of Tomorrow to the Cape Crusader, and here's blue and gray and black and gray versions of Nightfall Batman. Similar to Action Comics 1000 Superman, I think he's a hair too small, though if you could make him work with Silver Age, they have that matching black shadow around the mask thing going on. For scaling purposes though, and Steve goes much better with the blue and gray or black and gray versions of Hush Batman. As for my personal preferences though, and I much prefer how he looks with the gold label Year 2. Classic Cap and classic Batman, bringing back Silver Age Superman, and this is a perfect crossover. On the subject of crossovers, Captain America and Wonder Woman are getting one, so here he is with the collector edition. If I'm not mistaken, the art style is going to have her in the Rebirth costume though, though, and while this might be Gal Gadot, this is the same body McFarlane is using for their upcoming Rebirth Diana. For something a bit more star-spangled though, and here's that Warrior Page Punchers version, this Captain America does come with a retro head and shield, so you could actually make this work, which means that if you wanted to, you could also put that retro-style cap with the Fleischer Superman and Detective Comics 27 Batman. For another hero who made his debut in 1940, however, and here we have Shazam, originally known as Captain Marvel. Jumping from the Golden Age to the Silver Age though, and I did want to bring out the Flash and Green Lantern, mainly because these are built off the Blue Beetle body, meaning it's a good representation of how Captain America scales with DC Multiverse figures at large. Of course, DC Multiverse isn't the only line coming out of McFarlane Toys. For example, here's Cap with the Keanu Reeves-inspired Berserker B, along with Mortal Kombat 11 and Batman 2-pack versions of Spawn. I don't think these two have ever crossed paths in the comics, but I'd definitely love to see what Steve would think of Al. And now, just like the DC license, let's leave McFarlane and head over to Mattel. As a general wrestling figure, and here's Randy Orton. This figure was a gift from friend of the channel, JB Toyman Reviews. In real life, Randy is 6'5" and therefore taller than Captain America, so sadly you're not going to be putting Cap in the ring anytime soon. And then here he is with the Masterverse Revelations He-Man. He-Man is supposed to be about 6'7", so once again Cap comes up a little bit short. Hasbro, McFarlane, and Mattel aren't the only mainstream companies that make superhero figures, however. We also should briefly touch on NECA. The King features Flash Gordon, for example. There are other figures in the Defenders of the Earth line, but I don't have those. It is worth noting, though, that this is the same body that NECA used for their Batman, Superman, and Green Lantern, so that's how this Cap would scale with them. Just for funsies, though, and since Marvel just put out an Aliens vs. Avengers comic, here's Captain America with a warrior alien from Aliens. I haven't read it yet, but the fact that it's written by Jonathan Hickman has me really excited. No spoilers, but if you've read it, let me know what you thought in the comments. That crossover brings us back home to Marvel, and specifically other Marvel Select heroes. Heroes like Captain Marvel, who's way too tiny, or one of my favorites, the Marvel Select Silver Surfer. Closer to home, and for street-level heroes, here's Daredevil, the Man Without Fear. How about Storm and Gambit from the X-Men? These scale pretty well. Lastly, though, and for the most popular member of the team, and here we have Wolverine. For your consideration, I've brought out not only Marvel Select, but also the brand new Gamerverse version, which I argued in my previous video is well-sized for a 7-inch scale. Marvel Legends Wolverine is a perfect segue to a relative scale comparison with Pizza Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man, and as always, our channel mascot, Stealth Iron Man. Were there any comparisons that surprised you? Were there any that you were hoping for that I didn't get around to? Sound off in the comments below, and while you're down there, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of my other upcoming Captain America videos. For more Captain America in the meantime, though, check out one of these, and until next time, play nice and have fun. Instead, today is going to be more of a, from the Cape Crusader to the man...